This podcast is produced by the Harwood Productions Podcast Network. To learn more about the network and to find more of our shows, visit us online at www.harwoodpodcast.com.
Hi, I'm Helene Woods, and this is Let's Quilt, episode number 6. We're going to be cutting the strips for our 9 patch today. The exact number of what you're going to be needing is on our website for you to look at. So I'm just going to start here. I'm going to be measuring over 1.5 inches for my rust-colored strip. I'm going to cut one of them. And please remember to keep moving your hand on down. Now, as you can see, this is nice and even. Our selvages, we don't have to take off because it's not important with this. We will take them off eventually though. And here we've got a long 42-inch piece of fabric. That's too much to work with. So what I'm going to suggest is that you take your ruler again and just cut the strip in half. So that gives you a workable piece of fabric to have. I'll do that right now. Okay, I've finished cutting all my strips and I have them all laid out. Get them all into a little pile so that when we're ready to join them, they will be in order. We're going to start joining our strips together now. I'd like to give you an example of what it will look like when it's done. This is an example. I've got the dark, the light, and the dark. We're also going to have to make a strip will be light, dark, light. Now I'm going to show you how you can put your strips together. I've got a light strip, and I'm going to have it face up, right side up I should say, and then we're going to put a dark strip on top of it. And I'm just going to put a few pins in that to keep it in place while I'm sewing. Now we can only really do one strip at a time, because that gives us a time where we can sew this, and then we can open it up and press it. And then we have a nice flat piece of fabric to put on our third strip. And we're going to get all set now to sew our 1/4-inch seam in on our first strip. When you set up your machine, just go ahead and use the ecru thread. We can't be changing threads all the time as we quilt, so that'll work out fine. So I'm just going to start sewing my 1/4-inch seam here. We're going to start pressing our fabric, and the first thing I'd like for you to do is if you have them little tails hanging over, cut those off so that when we get to measuring, you've got a fairly good idea of how much fabric you have. Now when we press, we always want to press towards the dark seam allowance. So if I show you this, I'm going to have my beige down, my tan color down, and I'm going to press that here. I'll press this, then I'll show you what it looks like. There, remember, try not to glide your iron, just put it down. Now as I turn it over, you can see that the seam allowance is going towards our dark fabric. I'm now going to take my other tan piece and I'm going to lay it right sides together on top of my rust-colored strip, and I'm going to pin that in a few places. Then I'll sew them together. Now we're going to press the seam that I have just sewn, and there again I want to stress that we always have the seam allowance going towards the dark fabric. I'm press this and then I'll show you what it looks like. I'm going to turn this over and I'm going to show you what it will look like when we have both of our seam allowances heading towards the dark fabric. And at that time, I just go ahead and repress that, make sure that it's nice and smooth. We just continue sewing all of your strips together. Now remember, you're going to have your light, and your dark, light, dark strips for your project. It's very important for you to check your strips. Each strip should be 3.5 inches wide, and your center strip should be 1 inch wide. Before we start cutting, I'd like for you to just go down your strip here and measure all the way down. And if there is an area where you're not getting a full inch width, then this is the time to take care of that. Whether you have to take out some stitches and straighten it up a little bit, it doesn't matter, but that's the time. Now we're going to start cutting the units for our 9 patch. We're going to be needing 22 of the light, dark, light, and 44 of the dark, light, dark. These are to be 1.5 inches wide. So I cut this. And as you cut them, keep just stacking them in order, and that's the easy way to do it, so when we get to sewing them, they'll be all in one place. The next time we get together, we're going to be joining all of our 9 patch units together, and when we do that, we're going to end up with a 9 patch square. I'll see you next time.